welcome to Good Game. I'm Bajo.
And I'm Hex.
Running, jumping, clicking and pointing are all on the radar for this week, and we begin our journey by creating a gauntlet of punishment.
Well, we sort of spend most games running and jumping, don't we?
That is true. They are the building blocks of fun.
Oh. Also this week, the samurai with no master is on a mission for revenge. The best of all missions, really.
And we're sent on a quest by a local developer.
Your grandpa, he is cursed. A very dark and powerful curse at that.
No, Grandpa.
But before all that, can you name the game for this week?
Here's what's making headlines. Former Assassin's Creed producer and Ubisoft Toronto managing director Jade Raymond has joined Electronic Arts to head a new studio in Montreal. The new studio, Motive, will be helping to develop Visceral's Star Wars game, which is being worked on by former Uncharted creative director Amy Hennig, and they will also be helping with BioWare's new Mass Effect game, as well as creating brand new IP. Spec Ops The Line developer Jaeger has been taken off development duties on the upcoming Dead Island 2. The game's publisher Deep Silver hasn't provided a reason for the developer's removal other than to say it decided to part ways after careful consideration. Deep Silver added that it is still committed to bringing the game out, however no new developer was named. And that's all for this week.
Thanks, Goose. Ronin is the name given to a samurai who has lost his master.
It's also what this game is called. Ronin is a sort of real-time action turn-based platforming puzzle game.
Some of you may notice the obvious similarities between this and a great 2013 independent game called Gunpoint. The developer even jokingly said he was trying to make a Gunpoint ripoff.
But besides having a similar minimalist 2D art style, jumping mechanic, and being made by guys called Tom, they're very different.
You play as a nameless, Kill Bill-inspired femme fatale, who seems to be out for revenge against her father's old business partners after they killed him for some reason. Or at least, I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, there isn't much story here. You get one photo as the backdrop for a handful of cutscenes, and a few lines of ambiguous text to spell things out for you. The missions are pretty straightforward too. You usually have to access a few computer terminals, and occasionally take out one of your targets. Then jump on your motorbike and wheelie out of there.
The tricky part, of course, is dealing with everyone standing in your way. Once you enter into combat, things become turn-based, and you'll have to position yourself near to enemies to take them out.
If you stay in the shadows and don't get detected, you'll make life easier for yourself. But you're constantly reminded that this isn't a stealth game and you should just kill everybody. Plus, most of the time, staying in the shadows isn't really an option.
When you do get noticed, everyone nearby will train their laser sights to where you are, and will shoot there on the next turn, so you always need to be on the move. You may be perfectly set up to execute someone, but if that leaves you in someone else's sights, then you're done for.
I really like this mechanic because it essentially turns it into a puzzle game where you have to keep a few steps ahead. It's satisfying. And it definitely makes you feel like a crafty ninja as you freeze midair, planning your next strike, or dodging a whole storm of bullets.
It does lead to a lot of trial and error though, and even though this is turn-based, which gives you all the time in the world to think and plan, something about this just always made me impatient.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I think it's because this is so action-based and you're meant to be the speedy samurai. And that just makes you want to get in there and take out everyone as fast and stylishly as possible, which often doesn't end well.
It's like I could see the laser sight there and I knew I was gonna die, and yet I still tried to take the guy out.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the fact that it can be a bit unpredictable where you're going to land after an attack. It might seem like you'll land safely out of the firing line only to still be grazed by a bullet, while other times you can get away with it.
Yeah, true, although mostly I think I was just too eager a lot of the time and attacked before I really thought things through.
Fair enough. One thing I did like is that each mission requires you to meet 3 conditions in order to earn an upgrade point that you can spend on some awesome skills. To earn it, you have to take out all the enemies, not set off any alarms, and not kill any civilians.
Yeah, it adds good challenge, but I almost wouldn't call them optional because you really need those upgrades. Moves like throwing shurikens in midair to knock everyone down and throwing your sword not only look awesome, but will absolutely save your bacon.
There's a decent bit of strategy to actually using those abilities too. As you string together takedowns and kills, you fill up your ability meter, but for every second or turn not spent doing that, it goes down. I like this because it forces you to push into the action, never retreat, always attack.
Yeah, it does a good job of keeping you on your toes with different enemy types too. You got your standard one-shoot goon, samurai who can slice you mid-attack, and machine gunners who will keep shooting at the one spot over 2 turns. Put them all together and you have a lot to keep track of.
It's a pretty short game, there's only 15 missions, so you can knock that off in an afternoon. There is a New Game Plus mode, which gives you all your abilities from the start, but I didn't really feel the need for a second run through. Final thoughts, Hex?
Well, all up, I think this was a really satisfying and stylish blend of action and puzzle solving, so I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Yeah, this game doesn't do a lot, but what it does do, it does pretty well, so I'm giving it 3 stars.
Back in the days of single console multiplayer and fierce couch rivalries, one of the big name players was the N64 classic Mario Kart. It had everyone's favourite characters, creative tracks straight out of the Nintendo playbook, and a battle mode that united and tore apart long-lasting friendships. But I didn't have Mario Kart, I had Snowboard Kids.
Ready, go!
Developed by Japanese studio Rakdim back in 1998, Snowboard Kids was riding high on the wave of successful 3D kart races like Diddy Kong Racing. And at first, everything about this game gave the impression it was a simple cash-in job, with painfully over-designed cartoon characters and the radical sport of snowboarding now replacing the standard go-karts. Fortunately, this wasn't the case. Well, I mean, the characters were still really annoying with their stupid haircuts and their high-pitched voices that made you just want to... But the rest of the game, that was awesome. It took all the best elements from kart races at the time, like creative power-ups and exciting track design, but added enough of its own flavour to feel like a completely different genre of racer. For starters, each race was made up of multiple runs down a single mountain, which meant that all the players had to pass through one tiny gate at the bottom to successfully ride back to the top. This mechanic alone made for some of the most chaotic and amusing moments in the game, as my friends and I would collide as we frantically rushed to get through the gate, while whoever was in last could pull a Stephen Bradbury and sail cleanly through into first place. And just in case that wasn't fiendish enough, the game also let you carry 2 power-ups at once, which when multiplied with 3 other players equaled absolute chaos. Especially when one of those power-ups was the diabolically genius parachute. Allow me to explain. If you managed to hit an opponent with this projectile, they'd be knocked high into the air and then proceed to float slowly to the ground while watching the rest of the field pull ahead. However, should you time your hit just as they prepare to launch themselves off a jump, they could be left hanging for an infuriatingly painful amount of time. Bravo, Snowboard Kids. Bravo. So, sure, if I had to crown my absolute favourite kart racer on the N64, this probably wouldn't be it. But if all the other favourites happened to crash right at the finish line and I was left to pick my most memorable of the lot, then yeah, it would probably be Snowboard Kids.
Japanese games can often feel a bit weird, but at the same time they can also be beautiful, thoughtful creations dripping with style. Deception for the Nightmare Princess is just weird. It's a bit weird.
じゃあ行こうか、姫様。宴はここからだ。
Deception 4: The Nightmare Princess is a trap-based strategy game. As servant of the devil, your role is to punish, humiliate, and elaborately kill those who wander into your domain. Except you never actually directly hurt them. Your objective is to set up traps and activate them to kill humans as fast as possible for points. They also do it with virtually nothing on.
ひっそり背後からってのもつまらないでしょ。
It's pretty awful. The outfit you start with is basically underpants. And Hex, there's a lot of things I like doing in my underpants, but brutally murdering soldiers and townsfolk in a castle isn't one of them.
It's just not practical. You'd want at least a raincoat. The story is told through simple cutscenes, and I actually like that there's only the original Japanese dialogue.
Yeah, me too.
The basic plot is you play the devil's daughter, and she's trying to free her father. Also, each character that you come up against has their own little story, which often makes you feel kind of bad for what you're about to do to them. It's a pretty simple plot that probably won't hold your attention for long.
Yes, this is all about the trapping. In any given round, you place a series of traps and then lure enemies onto them. Then you try to chain together a sequence of torture for points.
Mostly you'll just default to trying to take out enemies as quickly as possible. And that, I think, is the core problem with this game. You go for the quick solutions, you're never incentivized enough to be creative.
Yeah, it's kind of like the developers expect us to enjoy the brutality of these death mechanics enough for us to want to experiment. But Hex, I just ended up playing this entire game with a look on my face of both confusion and surprise.
Yeah, that was my face too, I think. You do get to unlock new traps and abilities as you move through the rounds, but Bajo, once I found a sequence that worked, I just reused it over and over. It's the path of least resistance.
Yeah, same here. I found anything that actually locks an enemy in place or isolates them in some way worked best. And then just endless boulders and flip ramps.
Dropping boulders is actually the best though.
Yeah, I never tired of that. Although there are times where you can't really work out if an enemy is on your square or not, so you kind of miss and you don't really feel like it's your fault.
Rooms also have their own unique contraptions. These can be activated with your own traps, or just by walking into the gem that sets them off. It's not very clear how they all work though, and chaining them with your own traps just often isn't worth the bother.
There is a big ethical elephant in the room with this game, and that is that you are obviously the bad guy, and what you're doing is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, this is a pretty awful concept for a game. The wacky style lessens that somewhat, I guess, but it's still not something brimming with moral fiber or justification for your actions.
This is also the fourth game in the series. And Deception 4 actually came out last year on other platforms, but the PS4 version also includes a quest mode. In this, you play as Valkyrie, moving through a tree of battles and unlocking items for the game's director studio, which lets you create your own missions.
I can't figure out who the audience is meant to be for this game, Bajo.
Yeah, me either. I do have a friend who admitted to me that he's enjoying it on the Vita. He's playing that version just for the stupidity and the puzzles alone, but yeah, I don't think this is for me.
Hey, maybe we're just missing the appeal. Honestly though, I just don't think it's deep enough, and the art style's pretty ugly. It looks very much like a last-gen game.
Yeah, and the idea of trapping enemies and using traps to take them out has been done better as well. I think if you were to play something like Orcs Must Die 2, for example, it's more rewarding, especially because you're taking a more active role and attacking the enemies, and setting up the traps is just more interesting and more worth your time and ultimately more satisfying.
He does have a point.
Yeah, and you get to wear clothes in that game as well.
True. Are you giving this any stars, Hex?
I am going to give this 1 star.
I'm giving it 1 star as well.
It's time now for another reach into the magical bowl of randomness that is the unlucky dip. Let's see what we have in store for us this week. Plug and Play. I have no idea what this game is about or even what kind of game it is, so this is going to be a completely new and unprepared experience. All right, let's go. As it turns out, Plug and Play is a kind of interactive art piece. Your only controls are mouse clicks, as you watch a person made out of what looks like fingers with an electrical plug for a head dash about the screen. Variations on this interactive scene play out, as well as giving you a series of buttons to push, sockets to plug things into. At one point, the finger plug thing is pooping out coins. He's pooping! It's all very strange. The whole experience seems to be a rather bizarre comment on human relationships. How we interact, how we connect, how we fit together. In traditional,
I love you,
and non-traditional ways. We often ask the question, are games art? And personally, I think games are an artistic medium, sure. Could you just stick Call of Duty in an art gallery and call it art? I don't think so. This game, however, is the perfect example of an art game. I have no qualms calling this art.
Yes, you do.
no,
Yes.
yes,
No.
Because I think it serves an entirely different purpose. But most importantly, it rejects the traditional framework of a video game and yet still manages to be engaging. Art by nature is subjective, and to be honest, most art games I've played I haven't really liked. This was different. It made me curious. It made me ask questions about the nature of human relationships.
I'm leaving.
It also made me laugh and kind of grossed me out a bit. So weird. Oh, it's enough. Plug and Play is a very strange experience, but it's only a few bucks and it's worth a play, I think. If anything, just to open yourself up to the randomness of someone's very artistic view through a video game medium. Now, it's just...
Anna's Quest is an indie-developed point-and-click adventure game from the mind of Brisbane-based developer Dane Krams. It began its life as a Steam Greenlight project, but after gaining some traction, it was picked up by German studio Daedalic Entertainment.
Now the game has reached its full potential, unleashing its haunting tale of witches, magic, and adventure on the world.
This is a tale that began in a number of places, as many often do.
Your grandpa, he is cursed. A very dark and powerful curse at that.
No, Grandpa.
The quest you have taken has indeed become dire.
Spirits of the dead. Oh, ghouls of misfortune.
Fear not, for the answer lies within an object acquired.
Anna is a young girl who lives a happy, peaceful life with her grandfather in a faraway forest, warned never to go out alone.
Promise me, you won't ever venture out into those woods.
I promise.
But when her grandfather suddenly falls ill, Anna has no choice but to venture out into the wild to find a cure. And sure enough, is promptly kidnapped by a nasty witch.
We find Anna locked in a tower with some strange machinery and a camera in the room, where she's subjected to some strange experiments by the witch.
Stay very still now, Anna.
It turns out Anna has the power of telekinesis. So, using Anna's talented brain, and your own, you'll need to solve a series of puzzles to escape the witch's clutches.
Anna's Quest takes a classic approach to puzzle solving, seeing you guide Anna around each room to examine objects that might be useful and collect and combine items in your inventory.
This is going to be perfect for picking up something that's out of reach, I suppose.
The puzzles provide a decent challenge with Anna's vocal cues and thought processes there to help guide you in the right direction.
Aha! This might be pointy enough to get under the cover and pry it off. Let's see.
Although it's important to remember you not only need to interact with objects, but examine them as well. I was stumped on a couple of puzzles here and there that I realized I had tried to interact with, but not thoroughly examined, preventing me from moving forward.
Yeah, but I do think it finds that great balance of puzzle-solving challenge without ever getting tedious, which is great. Let's talk about the art style. It's round, simple, and maybe slightly geared towards a younger market, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not overly detailed, but I agree, it may just be geared to a younger audience. Something I also noticed in the way Anna talks and behaves.
No. I'm much too young, and Grandpa says it's bad for you.
And simply having a young protagonist to identify with. And her teddy bear companion.
Hold on, Anna.
But it all looks polished with some nice animations, and I think a lot of these frames were hand-drawn too.
Yeah, I think what struck me most about this adventure was the story and the interactions you have with other characters.
Oh my. We're all a little nervy here, aren't we?
They're all really interesting, filled with wonderful personality and charm. It does a lot to fully realize the world that's been created here, and it drew me in.
Hello.
Oh, goody. A little girl. Did you not read the sign? No, of course you didn't.
But I do wish Anna faced the front more. I spent a lot of time looking at the back of her head in this game.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there are some pretty long dialogue sequences. You can hurry through if you find yourself getting impatient. But there's a lot of narrative to uncover in Anna's quest that I found really worthwhile, so you don't want to miss much.
I'm sure many answers lie here somewhere before our eyes.
Yeah, the greater picture is pieced together really nicely through clues and bits of information that Anna picks up along her journey, and through the puzzle solving itself. Many of the objects you come across are mundane and practical, but some are magical, some have history, and some raise questions.
This is a little unusual. It's a family portrait, but whose family? And why does the witch have it locked away?
True to its fairy tale inspiration, this story takes on some dark qualities too. There are some beautiful moments of narrative that hint at frightening themes and create a really moody atmosphere.
Don't you see the devil near? The devil with his eyes that fright. My girl, 'tis only a mist of white.
And also highlight Anna's bravery, which is really nice.
I like that so many of the characters in this tale have their own sad story to tell.
At last, I found you!
What impressed me most was the variety of locations. There's a whole lot of game to experience here for the price.
My nose.
It really is an intriguing and imaginative world that you get to discover.
Yeah, the puzzle-solving mechanic is aided nicely by Anna's telekinetic ability, but not taken over by it. It's by no means a solve-all. You still have to do plenty of hunting and thinking and combining to make your way from room to room.
Only I could make it sound this bad.
And just good old-fashioned questing, which I love. Lots of mystical, magical items and bargaining with characters to get what you need.
Promise you won't do anything bad with it, right?
Yes, whatever you say.
I really liked this, except for that dialogue font. What is that, Comic Sans?
Ooh, I don't think so, but it's close and that is just as bad.
Yeah. Otherwise, this is a beautifully made game, and I really liked it, Hex. I like that it's challenging but also appealing for all ages. I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story that's really well told, so I'm giving it 3.5 as well.
Huh?
Greetings, young one.
What is this?
Shh.
What?
Shh. And greetings again.
All right, what am I dealing with?
Well, I did a full autopsy on the arcade like you asked. I will warn you, it's not pretty. So as we can see, they've removed several key components almost surgically. I think it's clear you're not dealing with an amateur.
Someone really went to town on this thing.
I did find one thing, however. These initials here, D-I-C. Does that mean anything to you?
All right, well, I guess this has named its last game. Cover it up for pity's sake. All right, do you want to get some lunch?
Yeah.
How's that place downtown?
Yeah, all right, let's make our way downtown. A million miles away.
It was Irritating Stick from 1998.
Watch out! You're too close to the edge!
First released in Japan, it was based on a carnival game where the player had to navigate a metallic rod through a maze while avoiding the sides. Touching the edges would result in an electric shock. And it's our Name the Game this week, as it's one of the titles we have a little bit of fun with in our live stage show coming to Sydney this September. Yeah, if you'd like to come along, then you can just check our various social medias for details.
Next week on the show, it's back to Gotham for a prequel story where we get to play as Batgirl in the Arkham Knight DLC.
And we are way overdue for a bit of split-screen gaming, so we load up Rocket League.
Until next time, Bajo out.
Hex out. You excited for Good Game Live?
I am pumped. I'm pumped, ready to go.
It's gonna be Hingers.
Yep.
It's gonna be Nick.
Yep.
Some comedians.
Yeah, comedians gonna have Tripod singing some songs.
Love Tripod. And my team's gonna win, as usual. So
your team's gonna lose so bad. You're gonna lose. You're gonna be smashed to the ground. Your team's gonna be like, oh, we lost so bad.
We won't own you.
You'll be on the ground
We won't
going,
own you.
oh, why are we so bad? So more of that.